Alright guys, good morning. Welcome back to the channel, and right now I'm going to be doing just a quick reaction to this video that Andres Restart uploaded about 15 hours ago. So, as you can see, it's called "Do Not Click This Video, Metroid Prime 4 Haters." So I'm kind of wondering, well, okay, what kind of video is this going to be? Is this him basically responding to people who have a lot of criticism towards the game because they hadn't shown anything exciting for it? Is he actually going after people who want the game to fail, who just people like Nintendo haters? Like what is this all about, right? Or is it just clickbait? Because this dude does a lot of clickbait. Him, Nintendo Prime, even Sunbro Nation has been doing this a lot. Switch Force. I mean, most of these guys, they just become huge clickbait artists at this point, and they'll basically make these videos where it's like they'll have the thumbnail saying, "We just got some major Switch 2 news. We just got some awesome news about the Switch 2," and then you click on it and it's just really lame and boring stuff. And it's like, dude, stop freaking clickbaiting. It's driving me insane. But anyways, we're going to go on here and we're going to see what this video right here is all about, and if it's really going to, put Metroid Prime 4 haters in their place. Alright, so I'm on his video right now, and as you can see at the bottom left hand corner there for the timestamp, it says, "Beware haters, beware." So let's see what this is.
If you clicked on this video and you are a Metroid Prime 4 hater, or one who is sleeping on just how incredible this game is going to be this year, then you're in for a rude awakening, because if you listen to me throughout this video and hear what I have to say, you may come to realize Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is actually a very, very big deal, and it is indeed happening in this year of 2025, which...
Alright, you hear that, guys? If you're a Metroid Prime 4 hater, you are in for a rude awakening. Alright? This dude's about to unleash havoc on you. Now, I'm not a Metroid Prime 4 hater. I'm just one who is very critical of the game. I'm very critical of Retro Studios. Everybody who is on my channel knows that. If you're new to this channel and you check out my other videos, you'll see why I'm very critical of this game. We haven't really gotten much about this game to be excited for, and I feel like the marketing has been complete garbage so far, and I'm just not excited for this game. Everything they've shown off so far has been very weak, to say the least. But look, Andres Restart, he's coming after the Metro Prime 4 haters, whatever that means. What is a Metroid Prime 4 hater even to him? I don't know, but let's see.
I just find hilarious, by the way, the fact that Nintendo has repeatedly told us the game is coming out this year, yet people still can't trust Nintendo themselves as a source. So how can we believe anything out there nowadays if we can't even trust the official source themselves when they tell us officially, repeatedly, for over a year that something is happening?
Well, yeah, this is a valid point, but this is not an argument that I've made. This is something you should be telling your friend Rob from Roll of Two Review, who, made that crybaby tweet towards Nintendo when he just kept saying, "We just want the release date. We want the release date," even though Nintendo has constantly told people the game's coming out in 2025. So it's really the Metroid Prime 4 enthusiasts and fans who are doubting whether the game's coming out in 2025. I don't know about Metroid Prime 4 haters. So who are these Metroid Prime 4 haters? That's what I want to know.
That all said, Hello everyone, this is Andres Restart, and today we are talking about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and all the different wrinkles and angles surrounding this game. Is it coming out this year? Yes it is, Nintendo has told us repeatedly. But when is it coming out this year? Why am I so confident that we are so close to a bevy of information about this game? We're going to be talking about what this bevy of information may be, how they're going to handle it, the contents of this game and the potential it may have. Might there be multiplayer? Will there be other exciting elements that will really change the opinions of people on this game? What about Metroid Prime 2 and 3? There are different things going on that are interesting to discuss when it comes to Metroid Prime 4, so that's what we're doing today. But if you are not a Metroid Prime 4 hater, then let me take this moment to ask that you consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell, because I talk about Nintendo news, rumors, and theories pretty much every day. So if you find yourself enjoying my content, your subscription would be appreciated. But let's tackle the most consistent topic regarding Metroid Prime 4 as of late. Is it coming out in 2025? When is the release date? So yes, Nintendo repeatedly has said Metroid Prime 4 is coming out in the year.
Okay, so he's just talking about the release date right now. This is just kind of boring. Like, yeah, I mean, it's really Metroid Prime 4 fans that are doubting whether it will. Maybe there are some haters, but yeah, Nintendo said it's coming out in 2025. So, I see no point in really making a huge argument about this. Let's skip this. What's the next timestamp? Prime 2 and 3. What's after that? Masterpiece quality. A massive adventure. Let's see what he's gonna say at Prime 2 and 3. Let's see.
Each kit is compact, modular.
We got a stupid ad, folks. Hold on. Okay, let's skip that.
I think Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is probably coming out during this 2-week period. And I stress this 2-week period because there is also Metroid Prime 2 and 3. What's going on with those? Those were rumored for such a long time. Are they going to happen? And my personal take is that they are indeed going to happen. They are going to come out this year. I could be wrong on that, and honestly, I wouldn't mind if I was wrong on that. I'm okay with just getting Metroid Prime 4 this year. You don't actually need to play Metroid Prime 2 or 3 to enjoy Prime 4. All the Metroid Prime games can be played independently of the others. Yes, there is a connected story. Yes, you can have perhaps a greater appreciation of the story and the lore by playing the other games, but you don't need it to enjoy and grasp the full experience. That said, I am leaning in the direction of Prime 2 and 3, yes, coming out this year before Prime 4 releases. However, I do not think they'll be getting big boy remasters like Prime 1. There'll be more simple reworkings, kind of similar to Pikmin 1 and 2.
Alright, so this is kind of just a random topic he threw in there. He's talking about Metroid Prime 2 and 3. I don't know what this has to do with Prime 4, so let's skip this. Masterpiece quality.
Still, but not anytime soon. But let's now start talking about how good this game is going to be.
Alright.
The entire Metroid Prime series are amongst the most critically acclaimed games to ever come out. Even the most poorly reviewed Metroid Prime 3 Corruption is still an incredible game and would be up for Game of the Year if a game of that caliber were to come out this year. So even if Metroid Prime 4 ends up being the worst of the Prime series, odds are still going to be a Game of the Year caliber kind of game in that conversation, at least around the level of, say, a Donkey Kong Bonanza. And I'm speaking strictly from a critical...
Okay, so far this is just opinionated shit that he's saying. Yeah, it's true that the games have been critically acclaimed or whatever, but he's saying even if Metroid Prime 4 ends up being the worst Metroid Prime game, that it's still going to be a Game of the Year candidate. And he said that it'll probably be like nearly as good as like Donkey Kong Bonanza. And I'm just like, okay, that's just your opinion, dude. You don't know that. Like, come on. And if it ends up being the worst Metroid Prime game, dude, come on. Like, this is supposed to be the latest installment, right? We've been waiting 8 years for this game. Well, 10 years. We've been waiting a very long time for this game. It's on more powerful hardware now, right? So for it to be like the worst Metroid Prime game, and you think that it would still be like a game of the year candidate, and you think that it would be able to like compete with like Donkey Kong Bonanza, like, get the hell out of here, dude. Come on. Donkey Kong Bonanza, that game is completely revolutionary to 3D platformers. That game is really, really great, really well made. The entire concept of that game, you just going down into the planet core, and all of these different environments that you explore, you can just completely destroy them, and then punch through every single wall, and then just completely destroy the whole map. I mean, that's something we've never really seen before. So it's kind of weird how he's just saying like, oh well, right now what he's doing, he's basically saying that, well, look, Metroid Prime games have always been high quality games. Okay, that's true, but I mean, what exactly, what point is he trying to make here? Again, this is supposed to be a video, you know, for the Metroid Prime 4 haters, or maybe not, because he told them not to watch the video or whatever. But it's supposed to be a video that's basically, putting them in their place. But so far, it's just opinionated stuff, and all he has to say is, well, the quality of the games have always been good, and even if this is the worst game, it's still going to be good enough to be a game of the year candidate. It's like, well, you don't know that. You don't know that, dude. Come on. You don't know that. Like, if it's the worst Metroid Prime game, first of all, that's not good. That's really bad. Again, this is a game that we've been waiting for the last 10 years. It's on a very powerful system, and I understand they were developing it for the Switch, but they've already explained that it's going to be a cross-gen game. This game has no excuse to be worse than the other Metroid Prime games, right? So, but I like how he's just saying, look, even if it becomes the worst Metroid game, it's still going to be a game of the year candidate. I'm just like, what? How do you know that, though? The game hasn't even come out. You have not played it. So this is just opinionated stuff so far.
Acclaim perspective. Everyone can have their own opinions. Maybe you might think Mario Kart World is the best game of the year. Maybe you might think Dragon Drive is your personal game of the year. I'm sure most would disagree with that, but hey, opinions are opinions. There is such a thing as a Metroid Prime 4 hater. I don't think that makes any sense, but hey, opinions are opinions. That all said, from a critical acclaim perspective,
What doesn't make sense are the stupid Metroid fans who are hating on Kirby Air Riders. That's what doesn't make sense to me. Because that's a game that actually looks fun. That's a game that we know has lots of content in it. We know that's a game that's going to be chaotic and fun. So far, we have not seen much for Metroid Prime 4. So, he's over here like, oh, that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, well, first of all, and again, I mean, it seems like he's calling people who are just heavily critical of the game. It seems like he's labeling them Metroid Prime 4 haters. So he probably thinks I'm a Metroid Prime 4 hater, even though I want the game to be epic and I want the game to do Breath of the Wild numbers. But, because I'm heavily critical of the game, because I'm dissatisfied with everything they have shown to us so far, I guess in his mind that makes me a Metroid Prime 4 hater. And to him, that just doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, no, it does make sense when you realize that the game looks very boring so far. They hadn't shown anything that makes the game look fun. And I'm not even talking about multiplayer. Forget multiplayer. The single player right now, they have not shown us anything. All they've shown us is that it's a Metroid game. You can shoot the beams, you can scan the dead bodies of pirates, you can scan stuff, and you can morph into the morph ball. So far, that is like basically all they have shown us. And then when it comes to new stuff that they've shown us, like the psychic abilities, they show, like, they chose to showcase like the most lame use for that psychic ability, right? So instead of showing us being able to take over an enemy pirate's body or something cool like that, all they've shown is that we can open doors. That's it. We can open doors and control mechanisms or whatever. So it's, so far what they've shown has been very lame and lackluster. And he should be making a video, demanding that they show us more, or that they should be doing a better job of promoting the game. Not, being like, oh, you Metroid Prime 4 haters, I don't understand how you could hate the game. That doesn't make sense to me. It's like, dude, you're not making any arguments right now. You're not making any good arguments whatsoever. Anyways, let's continue.
Perspective, the history shows that the Metroid Prime series is amongst the very best. And so I expect that Metroid Prime 4 will be about the same, if not even on the higher end, actually. Metroid Prime Remastered came out early 2023, and while some people certainly doubt if Retro Studios can do something so great again because it's been such a long time, Prime Remastered is their most recent offering, and that is one of the highest reviewed games on the Nintendo Switch. So, while it is just a remastering...
Yeah, it's just a remastering, so what the hell are you even talking about? I mean, he's just like, oh, people are doubting whether Retro Studios can do anything great. Well, look at this game that they remastered. I'm like, really? They taking an old game and remastering it, dude? I mean, you're giving them credit for that? That's fucking weak sauce, dude. Come on.
Of the original masterpiece, they did do a great job of it. It did show that they still only output quality, and that's something else to be said here. Retro Studios, while their output has been greatly reduced over the years, I think a lot of this has to do with a certain quality expectation. They have only ever come out with high quality games, some of the best games that come out for their respective years when they have come out.
All right, so right now he's making this argument or whatever that, well, he's basically doing damage control. He's saying, well, you know what? The reason why they have not had a good output of games is because they have a high expectation when it comes to quality. My problem with that is that many other studios for Nintendo have a high expectation when it comes to quality. Okay? How about the Mario team that did Mario Odyssey, and then they just finished giving us Donkey Kong Bonanza? Are those not high quality games? Those are very high quality games, and they're fun. They're very fun. Okay. Then we got Masahiro Sakurai, and his company Sora, who I believe are the most talented studio, not Retro Studios. You're gonna tell me that Super Smash Bros. Isn't like high quality? Yet no, they're very high quality. All right, the Super Smash Brothers games, high quality, lots of content, lots of fun, lots of replayability to it. So I don't buy this excuse that, well, Retro Studios, they have these high expectations when it comes to quality. And so that's why we haven't been getting that many games from them. I think that's a piss poor excuse. That's a piss poor excuse. And you know what? That's cool that they want to make high quality games. How about making games that are extremely fun as well? we're getting all these other high quality and fun games from other studios. HAL Laboratory, can't believe I forgot about HAL Laboratory. All the great Kirby games they've given us recently, right? And yet, Retro Studios over here, is pumping out like one game every 12 years or so. And let's see, it was like 20 years ago, it was like what, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which was good, but it's a Donkey Kong Country game. And then like what was it, 5 years ago or so, that they gave us Metroid Prime remastered. That's a joke, dude. And I don't like this excuse that, well, it's because they have high expectations, high standards when it comes to quality. I think that's a joke.
And so we could look at it from one perspective and say the fact that they haven't come out with anything recently is a point of concern. I would argue the fact that they are coming out with something means they finally have something that's meeting their quality standard, and it's going to be a great game. And we've already talked about how Prime 4 is definitely coming out this year. Source, Nintendo themselves. But something else to consider here is that Metroid Prime 4...
There are stages to backdoor, but
Always gotta have stupid ads playing. Sorry about that, guys.
Something else to consider here is that Metroid Prime 4 is an expensive title for Nintendo. They've been working on this game for many years. Throughout the entire Switch era, they had to restart development. They then moved it over to Retro Studios, where perhaps it probably should have started to begin with. But Retro Studios throughout the entire Switch era has been hiring some of the most high-quality talent in the industry, at least on the west side of things. And the Prime producer, Kensuke Tanabe, has been hard at work as well, and he also always produces quality games. Reminder, Retro Studios is entirely owned by Nintendo. I kind of hate how some people say Retro Studios is like third party or second party. No, Nintendo owns the studio outright 100%, meaning it is literally Nintendo. It's just a different studio in a different part of the world, but it's still being upheld by that Nintendo philosophy, by the Nintendo quality standard. And Nintendo themselves, Kensuke Tanabe, the Prime producer, when they announced the restart back in early 2019, they did promise that they want this game to measure up to the caliber of the Metroid Prime series. And so they've been working on this game and trying to get it right all this time. The fact that it's coming out now says to me that they made good on their promise. So
Okay, it just it just dawned on me, like he said the restart or whatever. He's referring to when they took the game from Bandai Namco and gave it to Retro Studios. He calls it the restart. It's making me wonder if that's what his YouTube channel is named after. That would actually be really funny. Like, he named his channel Andres Restart or whatever just because, they restarted Metroid those many years ago. I always wonder what the hell's the name all about, Andres Restart. Such a weird name, but maybe that's where he got the name from. Okay, so I hope that is true, that Nintendo is deeply involved with this game. I really do hope that's true. He's making the argument here that, well, Retro Studios is Nintendo or something like that. Like, they're not just some third-party company, whatever. Yeah, that's true, but just because they're owned completely by Nintendo, Andres, that doesn't mean that Nintendo is, got their hands deep into this project. I hope they do. I really do. I hope Nintendo is deeply involved with this game, but what Retro Studios, this is a Western developer. And let's be real, these Western developers absolutely suck. All right? They really do. I mean, Retro Studios might be better than 99% of them or all of them, but you know what? They're not that much better either. They've been slacking the last 20 years. They hadn't been doing that good. We're seeing these issues even with Sony. Sony PlayStation, I mean, ever since they pretty much moved their headquarters or whatever to California, they've been just putting out garbage. They've been putting out these really stupid woke video games. They've been canceling video games, like shutting down studios. It's been a complete shit show when it comes to PlayStation. And a lot of people keep wanting them to go back to Japan and whatnot. And there's a lot of talk about how, the higher ups in Japan, they're very angry with what's going on with PlayStation, but there's not that much communication between them and the people running PlayStation in California. So again, I'm really hoping that Nintendo is deeply involved with this game, but we don't know that for sure.
I have full confidence that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a great game. And from what we've seen so far, as someone who knows about Metroid quite a bit, I feel like I can say that I've certainly seen the signs that the quality is absolutely there. Sure, perhaps for some people, you look at the game and you say they haven't shown that much. I'm concerned. Like, some people look at the first area of the game and they make the assumption that that's what the entire game is about. But if you played Metroid Prime 3, you would understand this is simply an introductory area, a fast-paced intro to get you sucked into the overall narrative, teach you the controls within about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you're thrown into a very alien, isolated world that will lead to a whole bunch of amazing adventure, discovery, mystery, and mystique. But people who have played the Metroid Prime 4 demo have actually said some really fantastic things, even if it is just about the beginning of the game.
All right, I've heard way more people say that they are disappointed with the game so far. I've heard many people who've played the demo who were just like, it's okay. Now, Andres here is claiming that people are saying that people who played the demo have had fantastic things to say. Like, well, really, like what? Most of the people that I've seen who've played the demo of this game, people on YouTube and whatnot, most people have said they were disappointed, and then a lot of other people have said it's okay. And again, I just think that's if you say a game is okay, I mean, is that really good? I mean, just because they don't say it's bad, they say it's okay. That's a pretty sorry compliment if you ask me.
The mouse controls work really well. Obviously, there are some that disagree who just dislike mouse controls, but the prevailing opinion is that Metroid Prime 4 plays beautifully. It's also one of the most visually striking games on the platform, for Switch 2 or Switch 1. The Switch 2 version has improved textures, high dynamic range.
All right, how about you talk about that and those NPCs, Andres? You see how stupid the NPCs are? They're just kind of like, the way they just stand there stationary, and sometimes they kind of just don't move to the left just a little bit. They're just easy targets. How about talking about that?
Running at 4K.
Ah, man.
When you've got smoke-free satisfaction.
I'm getting so sick of these stupid ass ads, man. Dude needs to get these damn ads off his channel.
Running at 4K at a smooth, rock-solid 60 frames per second, or there's even the 120 FPS option at 1080p, which is interesting considering that Metroid Prime 4 is a high-fidelity game. It's a high-detailed game. Unlike other games that are running at 120 FPS on the console, like Silksong, for example, it's a beautiful game, but this is an indie title that's 2D, right? It's not something that would be demanding for the hardware, and so of course they're able to get a game like that running at 120 frames per second, but to get something like Metroid Prime 4, which has lots of detail and a lot going on, that's a whole other beast. And so that's just Retro Studios showing just how incredible they are. They are masters of making things work. But while we have seen some of Metroid Prime 4, and I do think that some gives us some evidence to expect a really incredible adventure here, there's still so much we haven't seen. We are barely scratching the surface here for this experience. We've only seen the first few minutes from the demo, and then the opening moments of Vyros, the beginning of the game, essentially. And I've made this comparison a few times already, but I do think there's something to it. We look at Donkey Kong Bonanza, currently, most would agree, is the best game so far this year from Nintendo, and one of the best games of the year just overall, period. And when we had initially seen this game, we had not seen that much. We had seen treehouse footage for the first two areas of the game, Ingot Isle and the Lagoon Layer, and a lot of people weren't so impressed by this game. A lot of people weren't really high on this game quite yet.
Alright, so he's trying to compare this to Metroid Prime 4, and he's trying to say that, people weren't that impressed when they first saw it. I beg to differ. A lot of people were actually impressed. A lot of people, when we first saw that trailer of Donkey Kong Bonanza, we were all like, wow, this is awesome. We're finally getting a proper 3D Donkey Kong game. Not many, he's over here trying to say not a lot of people were impressed and people weren't, like, no, dude, you're just making that up, all right? I mean, there's going to be a few people out there, a few goofballs who are like, oh, I'm not impressed by that, but, I mean, how do you know these are even Nintendo fans and not just, stupid haters, of Nintendo? I think the vast majority of people who watched that were like, wow, that looks fun and exciting. Look at him just beat the crap out of everything, punching all these giant monsters, punching through all of these, these mountains and punching underground. A lot of people thought that looked cool. And you know what? In that first trailer, we saw way more in just that one trailer than every single Metroid Prime 4 trailer we have gotten so far, including what we have gotten in the Treehouse event. So, I don't buy this argument that he's trying to make. Like, well, look, people were saying the same thing about Donkey Kong Bonanza. Like, I've noticed this has been kind of an argument from certain Metroid Prime fans or people who are high on this game. They've been saying these things like, oh, well, people thought Donkey Kong Bonanza was going to be disappointing or something. It's like, no, nobody thought that. Nobody serious actually thought that. Everybody was interested. Everybody was satisfied with the trailer that was shown for Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Wasn't until the Donkey Kong Bonanza Nintendo Direct where Nintendo opened the floodgates on this game. It really kicked into high gear with the marketing of this game, telling us everything we need to know going into this experience, where everyone all of a sudden changed their tunes and started talking about Donkey Kong as one of the best games of the year.
Nobody changed their tune, dude, because people were already expecting it to be a fun game. Like, hardly anybody had this weird attitude or idea that the game wasn't going to be all that. Nobody thought that.
And perhaps a historic release. And so, looking at Metroid Prime 4, we've only seen the very first few minutes of the game and the opening moments of that second area, the true beginning of the game. Not too different from what we saw of Donkey Kong with Ingot Isle and the Lagoon.
Yes, actually, it's very different. Donkey Kong has shown us, not only did it show us a few areas, but it showed us how fun the gameplay is. It showed us how story-driven it was going to be. It showed us the villains and everything like that. So yeah, you're acting like what they showed us with Donkey Kong Bonanza and what they have shown us with Metroid Prime 4 so far is not that different. Like, yeah, it is, dude. It's a lot different. It's a lot different. It's not like Metroid Prime 4. They've only showed us the first 40 minutes of the beginning of the game. That's about it. Donkey Kong Bonanza, it gave a bunch of highlights throughout the entire game. So, yeah, come on, dude. You're not really. You're kind of making bad faith arguments, in my opinion, right now.
Layer. Nintendo might be managing the marketing behind their big adventure games in a similar way, where they just show off a little bit of the beginning areas and keep everything else under close wraps until it's closer to release, where they open the floodgates and kick
I'm just
marketing
lowering the
into high
volume down.
gear
Just
here.
look at the space
And
parts,
so, yeah,
dude. Look
there
how
are
lame they
rumors
are.
that there's going to be a
See how
Metroid Prime
stupid
4
they look?
Direct, and I believe those rumors.
I mean,
if not
come
even for the
on.
rumors, but because I've been theorizing about a Metroid Prime 4 Direct for such a long time. I've been theorizing that throughout this year we'd be getting many different game-specific or series-specific Nintendo Directs because this is the launch year Switch 2.
Alright, another ad. Another ad I have to skip. My bad. Damn, I'm so sick and tired of these stupid fucking ads. Alright, here we go.
Game-specific or series-specific Nintendo Directs because this is the launch year Switch 2. That's what they did back in the first year Switch 1. They had a lot of game series-specific Nintendo Directs, and the exact same thing is happening this year. We've already gotten 3, and I don't think they've stopped. I think there's going to be at least one more, perhaps even something else beyond that. Metroid Prime 4 deserves its own Direct. I think, yeah, we're probably going to get like a release date trailer and a Direct before a Prime 4 Direct, but then we'll get the Prime 4 Direct, and then the game will come out. And so I expect this release date trailer is going to be exciting. It's going to actually have the release date that's going to pique the interest for many. They're going to showcase some elements about this game that people did not know about, and then they'll announce that Prime 4 Direct where they'll really start to dive into this game and really start to sell people just how incredible this game is going to be. And then it'll come out soon afterwards, because if I'm right about it coming out late October, early November, we're really not that far off. This is late August. We're talking about 2-ish months here. That's it. Nintendo's going to have a very short window here, maybe about a 6-week huge sort of marketing campaign.
Alright, so now this is just more speculation on his part. He's saying, look, I think there's going to be another Direct for Metro. I think there's going to be a Direct just for Metroid Prime 4. The same way there was a Direct for Donkey Kong Bonanza, Mario Kart World, and then Kirby Air Riders. You know, all 3 of those games had their own little Direct. So obviously Metroid Prime 4, you know, should have its own Direct, right? And I would hope so. I really would hope so. It would be very stupid and disappointing if they don't. Of course, the first thing he says, though, when he mentions that, is that they're going to give us some awesome things, like a release date. It's like, that's not awesome, dude, a release date. How about, you know, and then, of course, he mentions, you know, they'll probably show some more elements of the game or whatever. Yeah, they do. They need to have a big blowout right now. They need to have a big blowout. 45 minutes to 1 hour Nintendo Direct dedicated to this game, showing off all kinds of cool shit when it comes to the story mode. And you know what? They better have multiplayer. I'll be so pissed off if they don't. Okay? It could still be a great single player game, but what the hell is the deal in not having, you know, multiplayer added to this game?
Not too different from Tears of the Kingdom, by the way. Another epic adventure from Nintendo that came out back in 2023, where we actually saw a similar scenario where Nintendo was very quiet in the game. People knew it was coming out in May, but Nintendo had not said that much in the game, so people were freaking out. And it got to the point where people almost gave up on Nintendo telling us about the game before it was going to come out. And then all of a sudden Nintendo announced that Aonuma was going to do a presentation on the game showing off how it played, and then all of a sudden all the marketing kicked into high gear. This is going to be a big deal adventure. This is going to be one of the best games Nintendo has ever put out. It will at least be one of the best games of the year. I honestly think it has a fantastic chance to win Game of the Year. I actually think it's going to be considered an overall better game than even Donkey Kong Bonanza, and just for the record, I love Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm getting close to 100% in the game, and then I'll finally do my review. But this game's going to be just straight up totally incredible, and the closer we get to this game coming out, the more and more my hype starts to build. But what are we missing here?
He says the closer we get to this game coming out, the more his hype starts to build. Well, build off what? Because they're not showing us anything. So how is your hype building up for a game that isn't showing you any more footage at the moment, right? And he keeps mentioning Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think he's trying to insinuate that this game will be better or will outdo it or whatever. Yeah, sure. We'll see. we'll see. I mean, they're gonna have to do some really awesome, revolutionary shit, in my opinion.
What has Nintendo been holding back on this game? And really, I think there's a lot, and obviously I don't know everything, but you look at the key art for Metroid Prime 4, there's this massive desert behind Samus that we have seen zero gameplay for, but there are also varying points of interest. I don't think this is just fluff or just art to be art. I think it's actually something meaningful to the game, to the experience. I expect there will be some vast open areas to enjoy in Prime 4. I am not saying Prime 4 is going to be an open world game like Breath of the Wild. And no, I don't think that Metroid Prime 4's Breath of the Wild moment would be it being open world. I remember talking about that years ago. I think a lot of people just looked at the title, didn't listen to my words, and grossly misunderstood the point. The point.
If you are into curvy women.
More stupid ads, guys. I apologize for that.
I think a lot of people just looked at the title, didn't listen to my words, and grossly misunderstood the point. The point is that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be an evolution for the series. It's going to bring in things about it that will bring it to another level. Not saying it won't feel like Metroid, still going to feel like Metroid, as we've seen so far, but it's going to be an opportunity to showcase this game to a new audience where perhaps it can reach a new level of success. And we've seen so many different games throughout the Switch era reach a new level of success. Even Metroid Dread became the best-selling Metroid game to date, and that is a 2D Metroid game, and in general, 3D games have a greater chance to be successful, at least amongst Nintendo titles. So I do think Prime 4 has an opportunity here to eclipse Metroid Dread, perhaps by a substantial margin, especially if there are some special things that they're holding back here, like some exciting open areas, like some mechanics that they haven't really delved into yet, like the psychic abilities, which from what we've seen so far may really just be scratching the surface here. And then there's also the whole narrative element to this game. Who is Sylix? Sylix has been pursuing Samus since Metroid Prime 3. It's this mysterious character that's been teased in different games all throughout the years. We're finally going to learn about this character, and based on what we saw from the demo, clearly there's a lot of work being put into the narrative here for Prime 4, which is kind of a breath of fresh air compared to most Nintendo titles. So I think there's a lot to be excited about here. Some people might be asking about, what about multiplayer? We did see from the ESRB rating that there's going to be in-game purchases. What does that mean exactly? There's a variety of possibilities. It could indeed hint at multiplayer. It could just simply hint at a paid expansion to the game later on. Or maybe it's just hinting at people having the option to buy the Switch 2 edition if they just have the Switch 1 version, to pay for that upgrade. These are all possibilities. I will say currently, I'm leaning in the direction of Metroid Prime 4 and not having a big multiplayer mode, like maybe they might have something like that, but I'm kind of just getting the sense that this is just going to be an epic adventure. Like, if there is a 3D Mario...
I love how you keep saying this. Epic adventure. It's going to be an epic adventure, or whatever. Anyways, yeah, so he doesn't think there's going to be online multiplayer, and maybe that's because he doesn't have much confidence in Retro Studios adding that. Who knows? Again, that's complete horseshit, and that's inexcusable in my opinion to not have multiplayer for this game. What the fuck? They had multiplayer for the Metroid Prime Federation Force, so why not do it for like the big Metroid Prime game? This shit is getting ridiculous. Again, this is all just like speculation and opinionated stuff. Like he said, okay, what about Sylix? And I'm like, what about him? Oh, we're gonna finally get to find out what this character is all about and why he's chasing Samus. Like, okay, cool. That suddenly means that the game is going to be epic and awesome because we finally get to find out about this one character. I'm like, come on. So far, let me remind you guys that the title of this video is "Do not watch this video if you're a Metroid Prime 4 hater." You know, and then he even made this little warning at the beginning, like, you know, you guys who hate Metroid Prime 4, you're in for a rude awakening. Well, so far you had not said anything. You haven't said anything. You haven't said anything that's going to trigger Metroid Prime 4 fans or anything. I mean, it's just been mostly opinionated stuff, speculation, and that's about it.
Game coming out, if there is a 3D Zelda game coming out, people wouldn't be talking about, oh, is there going to be multiplayer? Maybe there will be some element of multiplayer, but I'm not sure.
All right, that was a stupid argument he made. He said that, well, you know, if we heard about a Mario game coming out or a Zelda game coming out, nobody would be talking about whether there's going to be multiplayer. Well, here's the thing, Andre's Restart. Metroid Prime 2 had multiplayer. Okay? It had multiplayer. There have been other Metroid games with multiplayer, like Metroid Prime Hunters, which I think was a fun game. You had some idiots trash on it, but that was a fun multiplayer game right there. And then, of course, there's the Metroid Prime Federation Force. So it'd be one thing if they never had multiplayer. It'd be one thing, right? But the fact that they've had a few games now that did have multiplayer in it, yeah, we kind of would expect them to, you know, in the year of 2025 to bring back multiplayer to Metroid Prime. You know, it is a shooting game. I know they call it a first-person adventure or whatever. It has shooting in it. It has combat in it. So, in my opinion, it's stupid to not include any bit of multiplayer. I think it's very stupid. So, not a good argument. No one's expecting multiplayer from Zelda or Mario. It's like, well, first of all, there's a bunch of Mario games with multiplayer, so I don't know what you're talking about there. I guess he's talking about the typical big AAA 3D Mario game, but he talks about Zelda, and no one's expecting multiplayer when it comes to a Zelda game. Yeah, not really. Nobody's expected that, but you know, that's, again, I think that's a stupid argument, because Metroid, you know, it's a game that can easily have multiplayer because it's a shooter. Anyways, let's continue.
It's going to be like a Halo or a Call of Duty style multiplayer, although I do think there's a lot of potential there. I'm just not sure if that's what they're focused on for this particular game. If they are, great, but I don't think it's needed for this game to be a GOAT, a greatest of all time kind of game. But I will throw out there, since Metroid Prime is a 3D Metroidvania, right, that perhaps they could integrate a feature we've seen from other games that are basically like 3D Metroidvanias, like the Dark Souls series or Elden Ring.
An IQ of 85 to 100.
Another stupid ad, but what he's saying there is what I've been saying, like a PvE.
Like 3D Metroidvanias, like the Dark Souls series or Elden Ring, where there is kind of like messages that are provided from other players you can find throughout the world, and they could perhaps even introduce a PvE or PvP sort of mechanic to the game, where perhaps someone can invade your world and hunt you, be an opposing hunter, and they can represent as some sort of threatening ghost, which may fit perfectly with the lore of the game, because Samus clearly is dealing with some sort of ancient ghosts here on some sort of weird planet with psychic powers. So I don't think it would be that much of a stretch, and might fit the game really well. Of course, this is an idea coming from the Soulsborne series, and Retro Studios may not want to just outright copy that, but we did see something like this in Mario Wonder, so, you know, it's possible, and sometimes I just think you should adopt a good idea. Just because you didn't come up with the idea doesn't mean it's not a good idea. We stand on the shoulders of giants, right? People figure out things before us, and then we build on top of that. We find new ways to improve and honor the accomplishments of the past at the same time. But with that all said, I think Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is going to go above and beyond. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this game, probably because they haven't played a Metroid Prime game or haven't played a modern Metroid Prime game, because there hasn't been one, and also because people just like to doom and gloom. But Metroid...
So I think a lot of people are sleeping on this game, probably because they never played a Metroid Prime game, or because they like to doom and gloom. It can't be because they have played Metroid Prime games and they're just disappointed with what we've seen of Metroid Prime 4 so far. I like how that's those are the only two options he gives, right? But anyways, he what the hell did he just say a minute ago? Yeah, again, he basically said, well, maybe there'll be like a player versus environment where bounty hunters are coming after you and stuff like that. That would be cool. I'm not sure if they're gonna do that, but it would be cool if they do that. But regardless, I still think this game is gonna go above and beyond. And I'm just thinking, okay, again, this dude, he titled this video as if he's going to prove to Metroid Prime 4 haters that this game's going to be great. And yet, all that just to end it by saying, I still think the game is going to go above and beyond. Dude, you haven't said shit, man. Come on. This was weak sauce. This video was completely weak sauce. It was just opinionated all throughout. Speculation, opinions. You presented facts, but not facts that prove the game's gonna be this masterpiece, or it's gonna go above and beyond. What makes you think they're gonna go above and beyond, other than the fact that the word beyond is in the title of the game? You gotta provide more evidence than that, Andres.
Prime 4 is set up to be an incredible masterpiece. I am so ready for this game. It's my most anticipated game of the year. It's been my most anticipated game for a very, very long time. And we are close. We are on the cusp of the blowout tier. It's finally coming. And it's going to be an incredible time for us Metroid fans. And maybe not so much for those Metroid haters, which...
Yeah, it's gonna be an incredible time for us. Look at this weak ass boss fight here. This very underwhelming and lame boss fight, right? Yeah, it's gonna be an incredible time, all right.
Should not have clicked on the video. I literally told you to not click on the video, but something tells me there are going to be people in the comments complaining about Metroid because that's just how the internet works. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments.
Let me tell you what I think, Andres. I think you're weak sauce. I think this video was super lame. And you over here acting like saying, I told you guys not to click the video if you're Metroid Prime 4. Dude, like, you didn't even say anything that would trigger or piss off a Metroid Prime 4 fan. Come on, man. This was weak. Super weak. All this was your opinion. I think this is going to be a masterpiece of a game. It's going to be an epic adventure. I think it's going to be great. It's like, that's literally all you said. Come on, dude. And then you provided some reasons for why you believed it, but they weren't really good reasons. It was just like, well, this is Retro Studios, and I think they're talented. Whatever. Anyways, yeah, this was my response to Andres' restart and his weak sauce content over here. Dude is so lame. No different from most of the other Nintendo YouTubers, like Nintendo grifters. Look, again, guys, y'all know I'm a huge Nintendo fanboy, but I'm kind of getting sick and tired of these Nintendo grifters who, they don't seem like they're really providing much when it comes to Nintendo. Like, they're not trying, they could care less about, Nintendo doing better and, actually succeeding and beating out the other consoles. That's what I want. These guys, they seem to just be like riding the coattails of Nintendo, and they care more about their own YouTube channel, growing it, being overly optimistic about things, never really being too critical of certain games or whatever. They just want to act like everything's good, and their content seems to be all the same. Like they're always doing clickbait content, and things like that. This was just complete clickbait. This was nothing. He didn't really offer anything, any good substance here. So yeah, that was just weak. Very weak. You need to do better, Andres. No Metroid Prime 4 haters are gonna, walk away from this video feeling butthurt about anything you said, because you didn't really say a whole lot. You just gave your opinions, your own speculations, and that was it. Anyways, yeah, most of these Nintendo grifters, I'm getting tired of them. I feel like they don't really care much about Nintendo. They just care more about their own YouTube channel. And so they're just grifters and whatnot. So yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think, Andres Restart. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. What did you think about this weak sauce video here? And what do you think about Metroid Prime 4? Do you think they will get their own Nintendo Direct, as they should? And what do you want to see from it? Let me know in the comments. What do you want to see be shown from Metroid Prime 4? Right now, they haven't given us anything, but whatever they have given us, people are just like, the only thing people have to say is how good the graphics are and how good the frame rate is. And that's what Andres Restart was talking about earlier. Yeah, look at the frame rate and the graphics and all that, and that takes a lot of talent to do that. And I'm like, okay, so how about making the game fun and replayable? Anyways, that's all I got for this video, so I will talk to you guys soon. Let me know what you think about this later.